Jon Mundy.
Well, thank you, Ken. You're wonderful. And thank you all inviting me. Thank you, Reverend Kathleen, for letting me come here. I brought two friends with me I'd like to introduce, by the way. They're sitting on the front row. And in the white. This is Vicki Poppy, who has lived in Boston, but has recently moved to Flemington, New Jersey. She's been with the course for a very, very long time. And when I listened to her talk, I thought this lady really understands it very well. And next to her, Corrine Zupko, who also lives here in New Jersey. Listen, you guys, sometime you might want to have them come say hi to you, okay? And she's the author of From Anxiety to Love. From Anxiety to Love, just in case you'd like to move in that direction. So, what I would like to share with you this morning, I might add, is a kind of a prelude to the workshop we're going to be doing this afternoon. This is like an intro, and then we'll kind of dig into application principles later today. I hope some of you can join us. And also thank the Daly. Where did it happen, Daly? But anyhow, where she is. Oh, there she is. Hi. So I want to start with one sentence from American poet Edgar Allan Poe, who lived here, who lived in Philadelphia, 1809 at 1849. All right. You all know Poe. He says, all we see or seem is but a dream within a dream. And now a couple of lines from A Course in Miracles. What if you recognize that this world is a hallucination? What if you really understood that you made it up? And one more passage. You dream of a separated ego and believe in a world that rests upon it. This is very real to you. You cannot undo it by not changing your mind about it. That's a central theme. You can't undo it without changing your mind about it. If you are willing to renounce the role of guardian of your thought system and open it to me, that's Jesus, I will correct it very gently and lead you back to God. Okay? So the idea that this world is a dream, something that we're making up as we go along, is hardly new. We can go back to Plato and the cave. And the people that are in the cave are dreaming that the figures that they see on actually the first screen, in a way, the way he does it, of fire and people walking in front of the fire and casting a shadow on a wall, right? Those characters, they think that those characters are real. But then Plato says, what would happen if one of the characters could get out of that cave, out of that dream, out of that fantasy, and see the light of the sun? And then he would come back into the cave and he would tell the unconscious folks, if you will, about what he's seen. And they said, wouldn't they think he is crazy? Wouldn't they just think he's nuts? So what does Jesus do? Jesus comes into the world and he tells us about another world. And he says, you know, that's the real world. That we call it heaven. Heaven's the real world. This is something that you're making up. This theme is so common in literature. It keeps happening again and again and again. Where is Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz? She's sleeping in her bed, right? She's been hit on the head by a pole or something that caused her to fall into this like state. She's unconscious, right? So she's home. Where is heaven, by the way? If you read the near-death experiences that you can read on the internet, there are just hundreds and hundreds of them now on YouTube, right? One of the most common themes that you will see throughout is they all will say, that was home. This is the foreign land, right? That's home. And a lot of people on their deathbed will actually start saying, it's a very common thing, I want to go home. I want to go home. I want to get out of here. Out of this body. The body is so heavy. It takes time. It takes my goodness, you got to feed it and wash it and dry it and all that stuff every day long. Think of all the time it takes to take care of this thing, right? And it can get sick and really upset you, right? All right. You're not a body. Course in Miracles is very clear. You are not a body. Bodies only last for just a moment, just maybe 90 years. That's nothing, absolutely nothing in relationship to infinity. It doesn't even add up. Now you may say, well, I am perfectly awake. Yeah. Then why do we do unconscious things? Why do we get caught in addictions, for example? By the way, if you want to really go to sleep, get caught in an addiction like alcohol or something. That's a really good way to just put yourself to sleep, and then you don't see anything about what's really going on, except that you know that you're living in a life of despair, or that's called a nightmare. A really, really unpleasant dream, right? Where is Alice in Alice in Wonderland? Huh? She's sleeping. She fell asleep under a tree, and she had this incredible wild dream. My goodness, right? About something that was going on, and she was down in this hole and unconscious again, trapped down there. There's a popular, at Christmas now, show for children. It's called The Polar Express, where there's a boy who goes to the North Pole to visit Santa Claus at Christmas time, right? But where is he really? He's sleeping. It's all a dream. One of the most popular books of all time, you may never have heard of it, but it really was, and best-selling, Pilgrim's Progress by John Bunyan. The reason you may not have heard of it because it was written in 1668. It was one of the very first novels of required reading in all Protestant schools. So out the 18th and the 19th century, this is required reading in Protestant schools. It's about a journey. Some guy is going off on a trip. His name is Christian. And he's going to some place called the Celestial City, trying to find the Celestial City. Guess what the Celestial City is, right? It's heaven, and he goes through all these difficulties and struggles along the way. And by the way, he's carrying a backpack on his back. And the backpack has different names on different sections of it. And as he goes through these, he goes, for example, through the sloth of despond. You ever been through the sloth of despondency? Oh my God. But he gets out. So he's lost part of his burden. That's what the trials are for. The trials are the Course in Miracles, principle number 7 of the 50 Miracles principle says, miracles are everyone's right, but purification is necessary first. First, we got to clean up this dark stuff that we got attached to us. It is no accident, by the way, that the Course in Miracles was given to 2 professors at a major Ivy League university, Columbia University, the oldest university in New York State, right? Top, the head of the Department of Psychology, and his assistant get this information. Helen was very psychic. Helen was very receptive, right? She could take it, and she got it. And Bill understood that it was true. The head of the department understood that this was true. It is so deep. They understood depth psychology. They understood Freud and Jung. And what are Freud and Jung saying? What is the major discovery of Freud and Jung? the unconscious mind, and how the unconscious mind is the thing which is guiding so much of our lives, and we don't even know it unless you get into trouble somehow or another along the way. And you begin to realize that you should be more conscious. You should wake up. You should be paying more attention. What we're going to be talking about this afternoon is living a lucid life. What does it mean, living a lucid life? If you have a lucid dream, what happens in a lucid dream is that you're in the dream, but you know it. You know that you're in the dream. So what would happen if you led a lucid life? And I suggest that you really become aware, become lucid of this dream. There's not only our individual dreams, but there's also society dreams, cultural dreams. We dream the dream of whatever religion we came into, whatever society that we're part of. It's really, really, really good to travel and to see different parts of the world. Because if you do, you're going to go to somewhere in the eastern part of the world, for example, or India, any place like that. And this is a very different dream than the dream we dream where I live, right? It's just, but it's sort of exciting to see that all kinds of different dreamings that we can get, or within our own society. You could become a hardline conservative, or you can become a liberal, or you can be a Catholic, or you can be a Protestant and dream that dream. They're all dreams, right? By the way, there are no soldiers in heaven. There are no captains, no lieutenants. There's none of that stuff that we make up. But then there's no politicians in heaven. None. No. There's no doctors in heaven. What do you need a doctor for? There's no body there. Now that's seems like a bit of a stretch, but that's what the Course is really saying. The body is a form, and we're working within that form, but the spirit has no form in that same sense at all, just like love does not have a form, right? So it's our task then to be aware of the dream within the dream. I hope you are. Are you aware? Can you see it? Can you see the dream within the dream as you go about your daily life and just looking? Now, one of the ways that we sustain this dream, by the way, is by we project the dream. We all make up our individual. This is a very important point in terms of the Course in Miracles. Projection makes perception. That line, three words rather, projection makes perception, is crucial in understanding the Course. Projection makes perception. The world is what you make it. Nothing else. It's just what you're making it. We make it up all the time. And what we're going to look at this afternoon is ways that we continue to keep the dream alive. And ways that we keep the dream alive is by judging the world. We have all the judgment. We judge this and judge that. Analyze this, analyze that. Well, so you don't like a former president, right? So we can make all kinds of judgments about that. Or whatever it is that we're making judgments about. Our judgments keep us asleep because we're not looking with loving eyes. We're looking with judgmental eyes upon the world. We're condemning and complaining. As long as you're condemning and complaining, oh boy, you're caught in some nightmare somewhere. Because that's what you see. You see the problem. You see the difficulty. And where's the solution? The solution is for you just stop that. Just stop it. And just let the world be what it is. Let people be let everyone be who they are. You want to fix it? Well, fix this first. Fix this, and then you'll understand that your relationship to that outside world and all those, quote, people out there is, well, first of all, we're going to go over the different characteristics of a teacher of God this afternoon. One of them is patience. But just be patient. Just let them be who they are. The line is, seek not to make of love an enemy. That's a line from the Course. Let him be who he is. Seek not to make of love an enemy. Making an enemy out there is creating a story, a drama, a soap opera about what you think is going on, but it's just a soap opera. It's just a story. And we all have our stories, don't we? And all those stories that's your dream. That's the dream that you got going on. And you continue to, you tell this story, to tell the story a lot to the world. That amplifies the dream and keeps the dream alive. And it's not to say you shouldn't tell your story and you shouldn't share it, but don't think that's who you are. I'll tell you who you are in case you don't know. You are a son of God. You're the daughter of God. You're a child of God. And that's all that we are. And another thing that's really, really important, we love each other. We really do. We really love each other. So why are we getting angry? Anger is a really amplification of a dream, right? Because that's saying the problem is outside me. It's in you. The problem is out there in the world. And as long as I think the problem is in the world, well, I'm kind of stuck on seeing the problem in the world. Somebody wrote an article for Miracles Magazine several years ago, a psychologist actually, who talked about his aunt that he had who has passed. And the title of the article was, "Ain't It Awful?" That was her favorite line. He said it was difficult being around her because every time you got around her, she'd just start off her conversation, ain't it awful? And then go off on some sort of projection makes perception. This is what I see. This is my dream. That's a nightmare again. All right? What you want to see is you want to see what Jesus saw. So what happens if your eyes are open and you can really see as Jesus saw? To see the world as Jesus saw it is simply to love it. Just to be loving what if you loved everything? You know what it's like maybe to love your pets or you love your children or love nature, but love the unlovely as well. Loving everything. That's why people fell in love with Jesus. Oh boy, that's why he got everybody around him. They saw that love coming. And the Course says the most basic law there is in the universe is the law of cause and effect. What you give out is coming back to you. So what are you giving the world? What are you sharing with the world? What kind of energy you're putting out to the world? It's coming back. You attack the world, guess what's going to happen? Right? You love the world, guess what's going to happen? It's going to come back your way. So the task then is, as I said, is simply to become lucid. This does not mean that you're in heaven. But we're going that way. The Course talks about what it calls the happy dream and the real world. And the happy dream in the real world is where you begin to change your mind so that you do begin to see things better, more lovingly, clearly. That's what lucid means, clear, right? Clear and honest. Honesty is very important. You don't lie to the world. You be on, because that's going to come back your way too. And the way that comes back to your way is not necessarily somebody else, but it comes back in this awful, awful thing. The Course says we got to clean out of our psychic system. It's called guilt. You do not want to be creating guilt in your life because guilt makes you sick. It's the primary thing that makes us sicker than anything else. Hiding, pretending to hide and pretend is just to amplify the dream and make it all the more real than it already was. So part of what I read just a moment is one sentence. You cannot undo it by not changing your mind about it. So our first challenge, we have to change the mind. The Course calls this correction of perception. I just said projection makes perception. Now we're talking about correction of perception. So as I correct my perception, then what first thing you got to do is stop, just stop making it up, and then start projecting a beautiful world, a loving world, a world that you want to see, even in the darkness, even in the difficulty. Every Friday and Saturday evening, from 3:30 to 10 o'clock at night, my wife and I are in charge of our 3 grandkids, right? Oh boy, is that fun. And it is. It can be, but Garrett, the 3-year-old in particular, it's all about me. My toy. You take my toy. Okay, now we go. It's a lot of fun. But deep underneath there's a lovely little boy. He's just a lovely little boy. And like a couple of nights ago, he and I got into laughing together. What I mean by that, we got into this laugh. He would laugh. Ha 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 ha. Wait, who could laugh the loudest and the hardest, right? Lovely, lovely. What fun. So it's just a matter of which way do we want it to go. So let's remember now that the main thing that we want to be doing here is practicing, become aware of where and how you're sleeping. And then not only that, but begin to do things to clarify, to awaken your body. That's really important. Don't weigh this thing down with a lot of alcohol and food and stuff that just makes it heavy. That's really, really important. Become very conscious about that. That's where we start. That's basic, right? So some of you probably know the poet Rumi, right? So Rumi has a poem, and you may know it, and it goes like this. Don't go back to sleep. All right? Ready?
All right, so we're all going to say that.
We're all going. This is a little chant. I'm going to do about a minute of this, okay? Right?
Don't go back to sleep. 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 Sleep. Don't go back to sleep. Don't go back to sleep. Don't go back to sleep.
Don't go back to sleep. Back to sleep.
Don't go back to sleep.
Go back to sleep. Back to sleep. Back to sleep. Back to sleep. Don't go back to sleep. Don't back to sleep. Don't go back to sleep. Don't go back to sleep. Back to sleep. Go back to sleep. Back to sleep. Amen.